Hey Radiant Souls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome for the first time. My name is Heather, and today I want to share with you my top 5 tips for working with spirit guides. So if you're new here, I'm an intuitive artist, psychic channeler, medium, and I have worked with students around the world for a number of years, helping them connect in with their own spirit guides. So I thought, let me come in front of all of you and share the top 5 tips, the things that I answer as questions or help other people dive into most frequently today, and see if that helps you if you're someone who is on starting to explore that journey with your own team or your own group of guides. So my number one tip is believing that you're worthy. So sometimes we think we're blocked and we can't connect to our spirit guides. And when we dig a little deeper, the root of that is that we don't feel that we're worthy. We may be thinking that the guides are these beautiful, illuminated, amazing, radiant beings, and they are. But we put them on a pedestal and say, well, I'm just here schlepping around my human experience, and who am I to connect in? Or I don't see myself as intuitive, or I couldn't be as whatever as what you think is needed to connect to guides. Insert anything there. I've heard it all. But I'm here to tell you that you are absolutely a sacred, radiant, luminous being here as a piece of starlight, a piece of source, God, the universe, right here in human form, absolutely worthy of making that connection. But when we don't feel worthy, we're vibrating at kind of a low, icky frequency. And there's a lot of this work, whether it's intuition or spirit guides, that is frequency based, if not all of it. So if we are saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, number one, we're proving that because we're saying it. So we're causing it, we're creating it. But then we're also at this sub level of frequency lower than what we could connect with. And that doesn't mean bad or good. It's not low and high in that sense, but it's just like calling the wrong number. So we're not really even dialing in that sense. So tip number one, know you're worthy. And if you feel blocked, start with that one. Do you feel worthy to even connect? And know that you are, because you're beautiful and amazing. Tip number two is to keep a journal and keep track of the messages or the signs that you get. So I'm being kind of vague in this one, because if you want to know what some of those signs and messages and things might be, I have some other videos on the channel that talk about that, or I have some classes, or we can work one-on-one in that way. I'm just going to assume that you know if you've been working on developing your connection with spirit guides, angel numbers, synchronicities, signs like that. Keep track of those, because it's so easy for us to revert back to number one and not feel worthy or feel that we're blocked when we aren't tracking our progress. So even if something feels really stupid, silly, couldn't possibly be a sign, but it's too weird to not be a sign, write it all down. For a number of years in my 20s and 30s, I kept a journal every day, and I would write down, hey, this weird thing happened to me today, and I couldn't place it in anything else, so maybe it was a sign. And I'm so glad that I had those to go back to, because weeks, months, years later, I was able to go through more often than not and say, oh, I understand now. When I got this random, sometimes it would just be the flash of a name, and I would write down the name because I didn't know what it meant or where it came from or what it could lead to. But then it would be somebody that I would meet a few weeks later or months later. It would be a name I saw on screen, like on a TV show, that then led to something else. They were just little pieces of a puzzle. But if I didn't lay them all out on the table by journaling them and keeping track of them, I wouldn't have remembered that I got the sign back there. Some of this writing things down is also keeping your own capacity available. And if you write something down, you kind of get it out of here so that more messages can come through. So keeping a journal, you can do it digitally with a notes app. I prefer to write things down. That's just me. I like to anchor it into the third dimension in that sense, but I highly recommend keeping a journal. Practice opening all of your clairs. Tip number 3. What do I mean by clairs? Your intuitive senses, your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your clairsentience, your claircognizance, your clairalience, your sense of smell, clairgustance, your sense of taste. So anything that you're sensing or perceiving that isn't present in the physical environment can be one of those clairs. So we tend to often connect those with our own intuition, and we do use them for that. It's a beautiful way to expand your awareness of the world. But they are also the pathways that we can receive messages from our guides. So if we aren't practicing them using different techniques, different games, working with friends, working in groups, in classes and things like that, then they kind of atrophy. They're like a muscle that you never use. So we can't expect the really big life-altering messages to come through from spirit guides if we aren't really practicing and tuning in with those pathways in which those messages might be delivered. So practicing there and treating it as play. That's tip number 4. And I get pushback on this a lot in my classes because we want to show up for the important messages. We want to show up and receive, whether it's channeled information about ascension or it's crystal clear information and synchronicities and signs about what we're supposed to do next in life. We can get to that certainly with spirit guides, but it's also helpful for us to play with things that aren't quite as important. So playing with cards, if you've heard of Zener cards that have the different shapes on them, that helps your telepathy and helps your clairvoyance. Playing games with clairaudience. There's a lot of different ways you can develop that. Don't be so stuck in the expectation that spirit guide messages are just like descending from the clouds in a sacred, beautiful way. There's a sense of play as well. And just like we see little baby animals playing together to learn the skills that they need when they get into bigger animals, we can play in that way too. And it doesn't mean we're not taking it seriously. It means we're in development. So have a sense of play with that and fun. And I have a lot of information and techniques in some of my classes if you're interested in learning some ways. And so number 5 for the top 5 tips is, we kind of talked about this, but I'm rolling it out as a separate thing. Ask the smaller questions first. And that helps build your muscle. So in addition to being playful and being at the frequency of play, asking the little stuff. Can you show me the color green in the next 3 days? Can you play a song with the word desk in it? I'm just looking at a desk. Like just asking for that feedback on the stuff that doesn't really matter. And if you get it, writing it down in the journal, feeling worthy to receive it as well. And then helping that be part of your development, part of your practice. It's really funny. When I was a kid, I played the piano and I loved it so much, but I just really wanted to show up and bang on the keys and like emote. I just wanted to get frustrations out and emotions out and play sad songs and happy songs and like be in that space. But darn if I also didn't have to practice like scales and how to move your fingers on the keyboard, and none of that was any fun whatsoever. Hated it. But the more I did that, the more I was able to show up and do it in the way that I wanted. And this is the same as anything that we practice, any skill we develop, any ability that we nurture, we practice and we get in that play first. So another way, it's not a top tip, it's a bonus, it's a hot take. A lot of times it helps if we can know kind of who's up there, who our guides might be. And I want to share with you some of the spirit guide portraits that I've had the extreme joy to channel for some of my clients. And if you would like one or multiple for your spirit guide or guides, I'll put information in the description box below. What I'm finding is when people are able to tune in to these colors and geometries that represent the spirit guides, and that's what this is. It's a representation of frequency for a guide. That is also, in a sense, like their number that you can call. You can look at these, you can work with these pieces of art and be in the frequency and the vibration of connecting with an archangel or a fairy spirit or a loved one in spirit who may also be a guide. Like there's a number of different degrees of guides or types of guides. And I'm finding more and more when we are able to feel the resonance, feel the frequency of them, which we can do through this art, it helps. It just helps. Like you're not casting something out into the great beyond, into the ethers in an anonymous way. You're saying, oh, I have learned that my spirit guide's name is Teflon. I'm just making that up. I know now that the channeled frequency art for that, she's kind of green and gold and red. And so I'm picturing that geometry and I'm understanding because I've worked with that art or I've had a conversation with Heather to help me unpack the art that she comes from Sirius B or she comes from Andromeda and I have this connection with her in that way. When we know that, when we know a piece of that story, it can be really helpful and it can accelerate our ability to connect. So if you'd like some art, I would be absolutely overjoyed to channel some art for you and I'll put that information in the description box. So I'm so glad that you hung out with me a little bit today. What other questions do you have about guides that I can answer? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what success you've had. If you have some tips as well, let's share with the community. Thanks again for spending some time with me, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.